My name is Norma, and I'm in a rehab for teenagers, and no one cares about me. A month ago, I had a whole army of fans on social media. And back then, my name was different. Everyone went crazy when they heard that name. But it all came crashing down in 1 minute, and now I'm one step away from a terrible... It all started when I was 10. My mother started taking me to different castings, as I was very beautiful and the camera loved me. I starred in a few commercials, promoting a cool yogurt and vitamins for kids. Then I got a portfolio, and I tried my hand at modeling. And then, a year later, at 11, I got my first serious contract with a modeling agency. My mom bragged about me in front of everyone, and it was awesome. She rarely praised me. And here I was, finally the center of her attention. At 12, I was offered a small role in a soap opera, and I loved it, even more than the modeling business, where there is terrible competition and strict conditions. You have to keep the same weight, the skin must be in order. It wore me out. Not once or twice I fainted from hunger. But I really liked to participate in the shootings, and I liked the director of the show. He said that I was a born actress and it is necessary to develop the talent. My mom paid a fortune so I could study with famous teachers. I quit school, and all the time I devoted to acting. It's a lot of work, I'll tell you, but it was a resounding success. There was an audition for a new series for teenagers, and I was suitable for the role of the main character. I was so excited. Shooting was exhausting, but I got used to loads of work. So I sometimes survived a 12-hour shooting day. And something happened that just blew my mind. You'll find out what happened in a minute. But for now, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And make sure you have the bell clicked, then you'll know when there's a new video coming out on the channel. I started my first ever romance with an actor who was also on this show. His name was Rene, and he was French. I was crazy about him. At night, Rene and I would hang out, and I was on set all day long. To keep up with the frenetic pace, I lived on energy drinks. The series was a success, and after it came out, I woke up as a superstar. I got a personal PR manager who came up with a new-sounding name for me, Genie Blue. I loved it. And then an endless series of interviews, photo shoots, presentations, brand collaborations. Sometimes I don't know if it was day or night, when I ate my last meal or slept. The schedule was insane. Renee was jealous of my success. We started fighting. My PR manager gave me lots of antidepressants. At first, they helped. I have signed contracts for new films. A promotional tour of the country began in support of the series that made me famous. Everyone loved Genie Blue and longed to see her live. And I increasingly in the evenings staying by myself in a huge hotel suite, buried in the pillows and cried from fatigue, from loneliness, from resentment. Renee spun an affair with another actress, and the tabloids have long relished it. Antidepressants stopped helping me. At the height of the promotional tour, I was so exhausted that I just could not get out of bed to attend another appointment. My mother showed me the contract, explaining that if I did not comply with the conditions, I would face huge fines, and they would refuse to work with me. She dressed me herself, did my makeup, and took me by the hand to the appointment. Everyone applauded and chanted, "Genie! Genie!" But I didn't care. As if in a fog, I saw Renee hugging some second-rate actress. That was the last straw. I ran to the bathroom, opened a jar of antidepressants, and swallowed a handful of pills at once. I do not remember what happened next. Vaguely, somewhere very far away, I heard my mother's voice calling for help. Then, the sounds of the ambulance, the smell of medicine, my mother crying. I spent 3 days in the hospital. My scandal was quickly hushed up, and I was sent to a rehab for adolescents. It's a kind of sanatorium, but with a strict schedule for patients. I would have to rest here, to recover, to cure my nerves and to start my life anew. My body was extremely depleted because of the frantic schedule. So the doctor said, and my nervous system could not take it. Every day is scheduled. Yoga classes, breathing exercises, a session with a psychologist, a walk in the fresh air, and no cell phones or gadgets. I'm on a full detox here, physical and mental. My mother came today. She visits me almost every day. She's happy that I'm okay now. We were sitting and chatting, and suddenly she put a folder on the table in front of me. I became alarmed. Honey, you feel better now, so I decided to tell you. They didn't cast you out of your contract. They just postponed the shooting. And in a month, Jeannie Blue, everyone's favorite teenager, is going to be on set. Isn't it great? Mom was almost jumping up and down with happiness. And I was afraid to go back. In the rehab, I feel calm and good. The real world was very cruel to me. But here I am, a shadow, some Norma, unknown to anyone. And they're still a superstar, and I don't know what to do. I'm afraid of falling off again. What would you do if you were me? Would you agree to go back? Write in the comments. I really need your support right now. Hi. Well, you don't want to know my name. It's not safe. But you'd better listen to the end of the story that happened to me. You also need to subscribe to this channel because there are tons of great stories to come. So, I grew up to be a very smart kid, and by the time I was 12, I had passed all my high school exams, and I got a high school diploma. My parents were very proud of me, especially my father, whom I rarely saw. It was all because of his job, but my mother kept it a secret from me. Dad always brought me strange presents from business trips. A microphone in the form of a bug, a lockpick for any door, a night vision device. And when he saw my diploma, my dad asked me to pack all my presents in a backpack. An hour later, we pulled up to a huge glass structure downtown. Dad pulled out his badge, put it on the reader. The doors opened, and we quickly stepped inside. It was a school, but an unusual one. A spy school, and my dad had brought me here to study. I was absolutely thrilled. It turned out that my dad is a secret agent. That's why he was long gone on business trips. And after showing my results on my studies to the director of the School of Spies and at the same time his best friend, my dad got me an invitation to study here. And I began an interesting life. I studied here for 2 years. I learned to communicate fluently in 5 languages, learned different coding for messages, got excellent physical training, and many other skills, from which I was wildly delighted. I even managed to fall in love with one guy, Sebastian, who was the best in the course. And there were not only strong feelings between us, but also fierce competition. Everyone wanted to be the best. But suddenly after Christmas, Sebastian didn't show up at school anymore. They said it was for family reasons, and there was no point in asking around. Everything was top secret. I was too busy studying to forget about the guy. 2 years of study flew by like a day, and there was a real task waiting for me as an exam, to track down a criminal. The Phantom, that was his name. In 3 months, he had managed to rob 10 of the biggest banks in the country. And each new crime was so perfect that neither police nor intelligence agencies could do anything. I was given access to the Phantom case, tons of information to study. I stayed up for a week reviewing each of his crimes, realizing that the Phantom had a weakness for rare jewels. I created a fake news story to pique his interest. I came up with the idea that there would be an exhibition of jewels in town. Among them, the Queen's most expensive tiara. And until the exhibition, the tiara would be kept at the General National Bank. The news was set in motion. The bank's management was aware of the planned operation to capture the Phantom. The exhibition was 1 night away, and I had one and only one chance to catch the Phantom. It struck midnight. The bank was quiet. just the guards and me. Outside, a team of agents was waiting for my signal. It was like time had stopped. An hour passed, 2 hours passed. I began to lose hope. It was probably a bad plan, and the fandom didn't care about the ring. And suddenly, what is it? I heard a sound, and a shadow flashed in the hall. Oh, is it him? Stop right there! I jumped out of my hiding place and pointed a small pistol loaded with sleeping darts at the dark figure. Suddenly, the figure threw off its hood, and I heard a soft, painfully familiar voice. "Hello, little one. Long time no see." And then Sebastian grinned cheekily at me. "You're the Phantom?" I exclaimed. Sebastian crossed his arms and stared at me calmly, and there was a mute question in his eyes. "And what are you going to do, kid? Are you going to turn me in?" And I did not understand who was in front of me. The criminal whom I must apprehend, or the beloved man with whom not so long ago we kissed until morning. If you're wondering what I did, subscribe to the channel and set the bell. A sequel to the story will come out soon, and maybe it will end happily ever after. Hi, it's the middle of the night, and I have a boyfriend in my sights. I'm holding a real gun, and my boyfriend is a real criminal. I've been hunting a thief, and now I have to cuff my lover. How did this happen? Listen carefully. I'm 14 years old, and I'm a real spy. It all started 2 years ago when, after graduating early from regular school, my dad assigned me to spy school. I spent 2 years there, and I realized it was really what I like: espionage, tracking criminals, undercover work. There's a separate story about how it all started on the channel, and you'll find a link to it in the description to this video. And please subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell to be the first one to know about new videos. So, at spy school I met Sebastian, who was also studying to be a spy. His talents were legendary. He was the best in the class. It was rumored that right after graduation, he would go abroad for an internship. At first, I didn't like him because we were competitors. I also had the best grades in theory, but in practice, Sebastian was often the best. Then, out of the blue, during one of the rare parties they threw for the students, Sebastian and I found ourselves at the same table. We got to talking and realized we had a lot in common. Suddenly, the two rivals became a couple and we started dating. At school, there were 3 strict rules about student behavior. Nothing was supposed to interfere with our studies. So, for a long time, we hid the fact that we were dating. And then, in the middle of the school year, Sebastian disappeared. He stopped showing up to class. He was not answering his cell phone, and it was risky to ask about him. So I bored in silence. The course was coming to an end. Everyone was given a practical assignment, which, if successfully completed, made you a real spy. My task was to track down the Phantom. He is a brilliant jewel hunter, and no one can catch him. I researched all the information about him, prepared a trap for him in the bank vault, where he was to steal another piece, and he took the bait. In front of me is the dark figure of a criminal who is marked as extremely dangerous in the intelligence databases. I have a loaded gun in my hand, and there is a large task force outside, ready to help me at the first signal. But my hood falls down, and I see Sebastian. "Hello, shorty." Sounds especially cheeky at this minute. He looks at me with his beautiful eyes, which read challenge. "So, pretty girl, will you give me up? Will you complete your task to the end?" And I am shocked. Over the earpiece in my head, the head of the operation asks how I'm doing, and I have to do something. "I missed you, baby." Sebastian takes a step toward me. "I missed us." "But you disappeared. Why? To become a thief?" "Baby, it's not as easy as you think. I didn't really have a choice. But you do have a choice." I can't control myself. My hands are shaking. I want to believe Sebastian, but I was trained in the school of spies. How criminals can manipulate people. What if Sebastian is doing the same thing now? Suddenly the lights go out. I hear a whisper. A man's voice. Go away immediately. Furniture rumbled. Glass shattered. There was a shrieking sound. Suddenly, there was a team of masked men on the doorstep. But there was no one else in the room but me. The next day, a detailed analysis of the situation was waiting for me at school. The principal talked to me very harshly. I realized that I had failed the task. Dad came rushing over, and they had a long conversation with the principal behind closed doors. I was sent on vacation. The director advised me to rest, gather my thoughts, and try to take the exam again. I realized that Dad had told the principal about my relationship with Sebastian. That's why they decided to help me out. It's awfully boring at home. I don't want to do anything. Every morning my mother tries to surprise me with breakfast. I have no girlfriends. I spent the last 2 years in the school of spies. Yoga and books save me. I read detective stories and think about Sebastian. One night I was awakened by a rustling noise. I opened my eyes and saw that the window was ajar. Strange. I always close all the windows at night. Hi, baby. I almost jumped out of bed at that familiar voice. Sebastian was sitting on the edge of the bed, smiling. He took my hands in his and gently touched his lips to my forehead. Thank you for not giving me up. I'll never forget it. But why, Sebastian? Why did you become a thief? Suddenly the door opened, and my father rushed into the room. He had a gun in his hand. He pointed it at Sebastian. You won't get away this time, son. Let's do this the right way, and I won't hurt you. Sebastian looked at me. I shook my head. No, I didn't betray you, and I don't know how Dad found out. A few minutes later, they took Sebastian in handcuffs and put him in the police car. I was on the doorstep of the house, my father hugging me tightly. We talked with him in the kitchen until morning. He told me that Sebastian was probably a puppet in the hands of his father, Dr. Lustig. That's how his name is in the Secret Service database, but no one knows what he looks like. And now, having caught his son, the Secret Service has a powerful trump card to capture Lustig himself, and that my dad had to install a camera in my room. He was sure that sooner or later Sebastian would show up, and that now I could go back to spy school. Dad talked, and all I saw was Sebastian's surprised and frightened face in front of me. He would think that I had betrayed him to become a spy, betrayed our love, and yet I have not. What could I change? Unless I go back to the school of spies, pass my exam, go into the service, and start my own investigation into Lustig to see how Sebastian is involved. And maybe save him. Do you think I should do that? Hi, I'm Samantha, and I left home. I'm sitting at the bus stop, and I don't care where I go, but away from here, to never see my crazy mom again. You think I'm exaggerating? Then listen. I'm 14, and I can't remember when I've ever decided anything on my own. It doesn't matter whether it was what skirt I wear to school that day or where I want to go after school. I don't decide anything. Everything is always controlled by my mother. As soon as I learned how to talk, I realized that I always have to ask my mom about everything. She knows best. She's experienced. She doesn't want me to repeat her mistakes. About that, I listened to every day all the time. At first, everything was okay, because Mom was telling Dad what to do and how to live. But when we celebrated my 6th birthday, my dad went away on a business trip and never came back. And then it turned out that he and my mom were divorced. We rarely see him, because my mom keeps telling me that he's a loser, and it's better not to hang out with that kind of guy. I was growing up, and I slowly began to realize that my mother's control over my life was not normal. My friend Nancy, on the other hand, is not like that at all. Her mom doesn't control Nancy's every move. She's just there for her. She and Nancy are friends, and sometimes they talk about things so secretly that it's like, wow, I would never dare to talk to my mom about something like that. And recently, something happened that makes me want to run away from home. I'll tell you exactly what in a minute, but for now, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell so you don't miss new stories. Many of my girlfriends have already started dating boys. My mom always gave me a disdainful reply when she saw a guy and a girl my age walking down the street hand in hand. Well, if she accidentally saw a couple kissing somewhere, oh, that was horrifying. She would throw a loud tantrum about what their parents were doing wrong and that it was inappropriate at that age. Nancy laughed at my mom's reaction because she was already dating Jack from our school, and her mom knew about it. Nancy's birthday was coming the next week. She invited me over, saying it would just be Jack and me. We'd have a few laughs. My mom strictly told me to be home by 9 o'clock and not to eat chips and cola. I nodded silently as usual and exhaled already. Knocking on the door, Nancy. The door opened for me. It was a guy I didn't know. I was taken aback. This was Nancy's house, but why was he on the doorstep? Who are you? And where's Nancy? I blurted out. The guy smiled and invited me in. He introduced himself as Luke, Jack's friend, and said that Nancy had invited him to her birthday party too. As I walked down the hall to the room with my legs shaking, my insides were shaking as well. Nancy had decided to get me a boyfriend. She'd been asking me to go on a date for a long time, but knowing what kind of reprimand my mother would give me later, I'd refused. And there was no way to get out of it. At first, I wanted to be mad at Nancy. Why set me up like that? But the guy was so sweet. Luke and I had so much in common. He wasn't much of a party guy, and he spent a lot of time with his books. But at the same time, he wasn't a nerd like me. But I could talk to him about anything. Nancy and Jack sat in a corner all evening, smiling at me and Luke. And I lost track of time. We chatted and joked until someone knocked loudly on the door. Nancy opened the door. There on the threshold was, who do you think? My mother. It turned out that it was 10:30, and I was a whole half hour late getting home at the appointed time, and that my mom didn't know what to think, and that she wanted to call the police but decided to go see Nancy first. And there I was. How could I have done that? My mom's voice got louder and louder with each word. I huddled in the corner. I was so ashamed. In front of Nancy, her boyfriend, but worst of all, Luke could hear everything. He will never want to speak with me again. Why listen to these stupid tantrums later? I looked at my mother's distorted face, at Luke's surprised and slightly confused eyes, and suddenly realized that if I didn't fight back now, I would be on the leash with her for the rest of my life. Stop it, Mom. It's only half an hour. And I'm here at Nancy's house, just like I told you. We've been talking a little bit, and if you'd stop telling me not to carry my cell phone with me, you'd know I was okay. There was silence in the room. Mom clearly did not expect this. The situation was hard for me too. The tears started to choke me. I quickly ran out of the house. And now I was sitting at the bus stop. I was fed up with everything. I got on the first bus that came along and left. There you are. Lucas was standing in front of me. And Mom was looking for you. Come on, let's go. I'm not going back to her, Lucas. I'm sick of this control. Lucas crouched down beside me and hugged me and said quietly, "She just loves you very much, Samantha. Don't push her away, but let her know that you are not a little girl anymore. You have your own rights and personal boundaries. It's hard, but trust me, you can do it." And I believed his advice. I went home. We talked to my mother all night long. We cried, we laughed, we argued, and our relationship started to change. And I really liked that. I also started dating Lucas. And my mom took it easy. What about you and your mom? Is it a healthy relationship? Write to me. I'll definitely answer. Hello, my dear. Good morning, everyone. Maeve Rose is with you again. I got a great sleep and drank my vegetable smoothie. By the way, the recipe is already in my YouTube channel, so check it out. And now I'm off to pick out my outfit for school. Are you guys with me? Let's go! Maeve Rose is with you again. It is hard to be always energetic and cheerful, but this is exactly the Maeve my viewers got used to. And they don't care how bad I really feel today. I want to burrow down under the blanket and close the curtains and just lie there all day long, and I'll tell you why. I live in an upscale neighborhood, go to a great school, and at age 15, I'm making good money on TikTok. I have 1 million subscribers on my account, and I am a face of a well-known cosmetics brand for teenagers. I get recognized at school. All of our golden high school youth want to hang out and be friends with me because they think I'm one of them. But the truth is, you'll find out my biggest secret in a minute. But for now, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell. There are many more interesting stories ahead for you. So, my biggest secret is that I am a simple girl who moved to a gorgeous neighborhood from a poor slum. And I live with my mom, who works double shifts as a nurse to pay for our housing in the neighborhood and for me to go to school. And to help her, I started developing my social media account, coming up with interesting content, and listening to the beauty influencers, and my hard work paid off. Maeve Rose is a standout in the TikTok community. I have a best friend in my class, Evie. Usually, we hang out in the school cafeteria. Evie tells me the latest gossip, and I look for new ideas for my content. Now Evie was talking about her wild weekend, not shutting up for a second. Suddenly, her friend sighed noisily. Oh, no way! He's back? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a tall guy who walked into the school cafeteria. He nodded and smiled at a lot of people. Do you know him? Evie was clearly surprised. It's Kurt Donovan. We were in high school until he was spotted in the park by a representative of a famous modeling agency. And then it happened. A contract was signed and Kurt became a model. High school was forgotten, but he became a welcome guest at every party. How do you know so much about him? I couldn't take it anymore. Evie blushed and admitted that she was dating Kurt. But his career was more important to him. I saw the way Evie looked at that guy. It was obvious she had a crush on him. Kurt came to our table and Evie jumped up and threw herself at him. He pulled away from her and winked at me. Hi, I'm Kurt. You're Maeve Rose, right? I nodded. And Kurt immediately sat down next to me. He talked a lot about what a star he was and how everyone wanted to work with him. Maeve Rose, I know you have 1 million subscribers on TikTok. And I just started my channel. Let's do a stream together. You'll get a buzz and I'll get new subscribers. Kurt's offer was tempting. I immediately had some interesting solutions in my head how to make it go viral on TikTok. I nodded. Great! Then I look forward to seeing you tonight. We'll figure out how to make it work, okay? Kurt smiled and then quickly got up and walked away. I looked at Evie. She'd been sitting there quietly the whole time. He hadn't even spoken to me. Tears welled up in Evie's eyes. I felt a little sorry for her. Kurt lived in a luxurious mansion, which I knocked on the door in the evening. He showed me a room set up as a photo studio. We agreed to take some test photos for the posts. The lights were set up, Kurt set up his iPhone on a tripod, and started posing. Come here, Maeve. We need some pictures together. I stood beside Kurt, but he suddenly pulled me close to him, and a minute later, he kissed me. The shooting on my iPhone was on auto mode, so I got some hot shots. I pushed Kurt away. He grabbed his phone and jumped to the far corner. What the hell are you up to, huh? I wanted to throw myself at him, punch him in the face, and smash his pretty face good. Get ready, Maeve. I posted a picture of the kiss, so I advise you to go along with our love story. It will benefit both you and me. I was so offended. I turned around and was running home a minute later. At home, I huddled under the covers and turned off my phone. I was afraid to look at the feed. I could barely make myself go to school in the morning. Of course, everyone was whispering behind my back. The photo with Kurt got hundreds of likes overnight. With my head down, I hurried to class, but I was blocked by Evie. How could you do this to me? Her scream attracted a crowd of onlookers, and we began to be surrounded by a tight ring. I don't even want this popularity anymore for such a bitter price, I thought. Evie, let's discuss this in private, please. You're not my friend anymore. In fact, stop acting like you're the golden girl. You're a poor girl, Maeve. You don't belong in the school. I felt like I'd been punched. Turns out Evie knew my secret, but she didn't tell me. And then she decided to tell me in spite of me, clenched my teeth and turned and ran down the hall. Because of that stupid Kurt, I'd lost a friend and ruined my reputation because of that stupid Kurt. Maeve Rose had lied to everyone about her life. How am I supposed to get out of this story now? I had to get back at Kurt somehow. But how? Do you have any ideas? I'd listen to the craziest one. I am Lucretia, and I beg you to listen to my story. I am in danger, and I don't know what to do. I am the only daughter in the family, and a very rich heiress. It all started with a humble candy store, which my father inherited from his father. Dad and Mom were able to develop the family business, so that now our company is one of the leading candy companies in the country. Ever since I was a little girl, I would often visit our main candy factory and watch the people working. My dad patiently explained to me the whole process of making each sweet. And soon, I myself began to help. By the time I was 16, I know very well that I would continue my parents' business. I am always busy, either with my studies or I am at the factory, so I do not have time to hang out with my friends from school. But one day, an incident happened that turned my whole life upside down. Kids from my school were from rich and influential families. When Fernando came to our class, there were a lot of rumors about him. Nobody knew who he was, who his family was. From the very first class, it was clear that Fernando was very smart. Not to mention that his tall stature and beautifully built body immediately attracted attention. But he was very secretive. I didn't even look in his direction until one day, an incident happened that turned everything upside down. I was at the factory, helping my mother with accounting. Suddenly, my father called me down the hall. Meet Lucrecia. This is Diego Cruz, our future partner from Mexico. And this is his son. Fernando, I interrupted my father. We know each other. Yes, we go to the same school. Great, so you have a lot to talk about. My father and Fernando's dad went to the office, and Fernando and I were left alone. Suddenly, he suggested, let's take a walk. I nodded faintly. And we left the factory and walked down the street. It turned out that the way Fernando was behaving at school was just Fernando's way of defense. He turned out to be a very cheerful and a nice guy. We spent a few hours together walking around town that day, and I felt very comfortable with him. He explained that he always acts like that at school because he often moves from place to place, so he doesn't get attached to people. The next day at school, he gave me just a little nod before the first lesson. Nothing more. It was like we didn't even know each other. But after school, we went to the factory together. I showed him everything, took him around the different workshops, told him about the nuances of production. You know so much about sweets. I will continue this business. I'm the only heiress, Fernando, I said proudly. Maybe you've read about it. They call me the Chocolate Princess. You will be great at it, Lucretia. Fernando suddenly took my hand. I looked at him questioningly, but he didn't say a word. We sat there holding hands and talked for an entire evening. A week went by, and then another one. Fernando and I spent a lot of time together. My mother met him, and of course, she liked him immediately. Every time I went to the factory, Fernando was with me. He listened to me attentively, and that was very flattering. One day, while walking me home, Fernando hugged me tightly on my doorstep and kissed me. Oh, how I waited for that moment. Lucretia, I'm in love with you. I'm crazy about you. Me too, Fernando. That's how we began to date each other. No one at school knew about our relationship, but our parents were aware about it, and sometimes joked that maybe they would become not only business partners, but also a big family. One day, Fernanda didn't come to school. I got worried and wrote to him. Before I continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you click on the bell so you know when there's a new video on the channel. I'll wait for you at the factory. I'm fine, he answered me, barely waiting for school to end. I rushed to the factory. Usually, we started our rounds in the hall, but Fernando was nowhere to be found. I decided to text him, but my phone was completely dead. I went up to the second floor, where my father's office was. He was away on business, but strangely enough, the door to his office was opened. I immediately sensed something wrong. So quickly, on my toes, I walked up to the office. I don't have any more time, Fernando. I heard a sinister whisper from Fernando's father. You have to deal with her now! Dad, I'm in love with her! Please, I don't want to hurt her! Stop it! You promised me! The kidnapping has been planned down to the last detail. Lucretia must disappear. Her parents would give anything to get their only daughter back. And we will take over their business. Ha ha ha! Hearing this, I began to tremble with horror. So, they set the whole thing up. They planned the whole thing. And Fernando is not honest with me. They're crooks. I quickly ran down the stairs and rushed home. Now I'm locked in my room. And I don't know what to do. They want our business, and they'll do anything for it. If I go to the police, not only will I be in danger, but my parents as well. Maybe I should warn my parents. Maybe they can tell me what to do. What would you do in my place? Please write. I'm very scared.